before the relentless, chaotic noise of the external world and the demanding expectations of others dictate the rhythm of your day, I need you to intentionally, completely stop. In this sacred, fiercely protected sliver of time, draw a deep, heavily anchoring breath into the absolute center of your physical being. Inhale slowly, pulling the cool, restorative, brilliant air into the quietest, most neglected chambers of your stomach, letting it expand your ribs like massive wings. Hold it for one magnificent heartbeat, allowing that pure electric oxygen to gather every single ounce of your frantic, scattered, anxious energy. Exhale, completely dropping the massive, crushing boulder of unspoken thoughts, unheard frustrations, and spiraling doubts from your exhausted shoulders. Unclench your jaw right now, releasing the dense, painful memory of all the boundaries you swallowed, all the brilliant sentences you bit back, all the vital truths you choked on, just to keep a fragile, entirely fake peace. You are completely, fundamentally safe here, fiercely recognized for your radiant, multifaceted essence and your ancient, untamed, brilliant mind. We are currently navigating a staggering, intensely complex, and deeply revealing energetic intersection. The date is the 21st of April 2026. This is absolutely not a day for casual observation, and it is certainly not a day for continuing the frantic, exhausting sprint of your old, uncommunicative, romantic patterns, nor is it a day for remaining trapped in the suffocating labyrinth of your own mind. This is a day of absolute, breathtaking, and terrifyingly beautiful mental sovereignty. On this highly specific, mathematically precise point in the cosmos, we are experiencing a massive, visceral shift in the emotional atmosphere. Today, the moon, the ancient, glowing luminary of our deepest emotional waters, our subconscious needs, and our intuitive reactions, makes its swift, electrifying entrance into the brilliant, dual-natured, endlessly curious air sign of Gemini. This is not just a distant rock moving silently in the dark, cold void of space. This is a literal energetic code, a massive physical software update for your human experience, being downloaded directly into your nervous system, your throat chakra, and the brilliant synapses of your brain. It is completely, irrevocably rewriting your internal blueprint for love, breaking down the ancient illusions you have carried about how you are allowed to be heard, and forcing you into a state of absolute, undeniable communicative luxury, protected by a fiercely articulate, highly expressive guard. Let us deeply, courageously examine what is actually happening within your spirit as the moon drops its heavy emotional baggage and steps into the swift, illuminating, truth-seeking wind of Gemini. For a very, very long time, you have been operating in a state of absolute, chronic, romantic, overthinking, and agonizing mental starvation. Because of your deep, beautifully tender heart, your profound capacity for analyzing every detail, and the unhealed wounds of being misunderstood that you have carried for lifetimes, you have lived in an agonizing state of trying to mind-read your way into being loved. You have taken your beautiful, luxurious, entirely brilliant mind, and you have constantly put it through absolute torture, hoping that if you could just figure out what they were thinking, if you could just decode their silence, someone would finally choose you. You have gone to absolute war against your own nervous system, convincing yourself that if you asked for the deep, verbal, communicative consistency you actually desired, you would be seen as too intense, too anxious, or too demanding. You have desperately, constantly allowed people to treat you to their confusing silence while you offered them the luxury of your endless understanding. You took your primal, vital, emotional life force, your beautiful capacity for raw, intellectual devotion, and you locked it in a heavy, dark cycle of overanalyzing every tiny shift in their tone, every delayed text message, every subtle withdrawal, to people who were completely committed to keeping you in the dark. You tolerated partners who gave you intense, blazing physical chemistry, but who offered absolutely zero tangible, verbal, consistent, emotional safety in the present moment. You fell deeply, tragically, into the devastating habit of accepting energetic breadcrumbs, convincing yourself that if you were just sweet enough, patient enough, and quiet enough, they would magically open up and hand you the clarity you were literally starving for. You became fiercely addicted to the noble, exhausting, completely self-destructive crusade of performing the cool, detached partner. You convinced yourself that if you just kept your questions to yourself, if you never caused a scene by demanding an explanation, if you completely suppressed the fiery, entirely valid need for a clear, spoken commitment that was burning in your chest, you could finally secure the unconditional, stable love you so desperately craved. You confused the absolute exhaustion of this endless, unwinnable mental gymnastics with the feeling of profound, romantic patience. You thought that because you were constantly swallowing your words to keep the mystery alive, it must mean you were highly evolved. You mistook the suffocating, terrifying absence of clear communication and vocal expression for an effortless relationship. You have been operating in a thick, heavy fog of self-betrayal, completely disconnected from the sacred vessel of your own voice, walking carefully on a floor of sharp, unpredictable mental eggshells, entirely convinced that your ultimate lack of tangible verbal standards would eventually be rewarded. You waited for the grand, cinematic moment where they would finally, magically speak the words that would validate your existence and give you the luxurious, consistent, deeply anchored respect you never dared to demand out loud. But as the profound, transformative energy of this April 21 transit peaks, as the moon immerses itself in the magnificent, swift, illuminating kingdom of Gemini, the chaotic, exhausting fog of your romantic compliance is suddenly, violently, and beautifully burning away. This transit is sparking a massive, irreversible spiritual awakening directly within your mind and your throat. It is the sudden, striking, highly physical realization of the sovereign creator who finally realizes their mind is the ultimate prize, and who absolutely refuses to ever negotiate their need for communication again. You are experiencing a literal, physical shockwave of mental clarity. The heavy, intoxicating, deeply addictive illusion of the low-maintenance, silent lover is shattering into a million unrecoverable pieces. You are suddenly seeing the past, the toxic dynamics, the endless swallowing of your voice, and the agonizing lack of true, structured, verbal partnership with a stark, almost blinding realism. You are looking at the people who gave you anxiety instead of answers, the unbalanced connections that completely drained your nervous system, and for the first time in your life, you do not feel the desperate, clawing urge to decode their silence or politely wait for them to decide your worth. You do not feel the heavy, suffocating responsibility to build a fantasy conversation in your mind because the reality in front of you is so painfully mute. You are feeling the brilliant, sharp, deeply protective wind of the Gemini moon waking up inside your actual vocal cords, entirely supported by the absolute, boundary-setting, unapologetic power of your own intellect. You are finally, deeply, and profoundly understanding that your vital, brilliant love was never meant to be a chaotic guessing game. It was meant to be an absolute, unshakable, clearly articulated given. This is the absolute, permanent death of the silent overthinker within your romantic blueprint. You are finally dropping the heavy, rusted mask of the patient mind reader. You are taking your immense, beautiful, terrifying mental power back from the people who gladly, willingly kept you in a state of constant, panicked uncertainty. You are finally realizing that true, sovereign love requires two seemingly opposite but deeply necessary actions. It requires the breathtaking ability to ground yourself entirely in the truth of what you know you deserve. And it requires the terrifying bravery to fiercely, vocally express that truth, cutting down any confusing ambiguity that threatens your peace. And the universe is not just breaking your toxic, compliant patterns. It is immediately, beautifully rushing in to fortify your spirit with a tidal wave of unimaginable, fiercely protective, undeniable mental clarity. Because exactly as you drop the addiction to figuring them out, the skies open up and deliver the pure, undeniable, luxurious oxygen of the Gemini moon, teaching you the profound magic of simply existing in your absolute truth while handing you the microphone to broadcast your new rules. Listen to the sound of my voice and let these words sink into the deepest, most permanent layers of your subconscious mind. The Gemini moon is doing the fierce, intensely necessary work of clearing the cobwebs from your nervous system. It is placing a heavy, golden crown of absolute clarity on your head and refusing to let you drown in confusion anymore. It is standing guard at the door of your life, completely refusing to let you use soft, passive-aggressive, or timid language anymore. It demands that your words match your worth. For so long, you have operated in a state of conversational starvation and muted expression. You have survived on mixed signals without clarity, and you have spoken your needs as if they were burdens. The transformative frequency of April 21 is stepping powerfully into your energetic field, placing its warm, incredibly electric hands firmly on your temples, looking you dead in the eye and whispering a profound, ultimate truth directly into your soul. Your need for communication is absolute, inherent, and completely non-negotiable. And your voice is the weapon that protects your peace. True, authentic, profoundly aligned love is not supposed to be a diet of confusing texts and silent treatments, nor is it supposed to require you to silence your brilliant inquiries. It is supposed to be an absolute, luxurious, overflowing banquet of consistent conversation, defended by radical honesty. You are currently undergoing a radical, highly accelerated, somatic, and communicative upgrade. You are being entirely recalibrated to handle the intense, brilliant frequency of true, unfiltered, unapologetic, verbal exchange. You find yourself suddenly inexplicably repulsed by the fast-talking manipulators, the inconsistent ghosters, and the deeply unreliable dynamics that you used to tolerate. The idea of rushing into a connection where you cannot speak your mind, or the idea of having to perform exhausting emotional gymnastics just to get a basic answer, suddenly feels profoundly insulting, completely draining, and entirely unnatural to your newly awakened, highly sovereign, deeply articulate spirit. You are looking at the confusing, chaotic communication you used to accept, and you are feeling an unshakable, elevated intolerance for anything less than a partner who possesses the profound mental discipline to match their actions with absolute, undeniable, crystal-clear words. This is not you becoming difficult or demanding. This is you becoming sovereign. This is you becoming a master of your own tangible reality and your own mental sanctuary. You are realizing that you do not want a partner who only brings the wild, destructive fire of unspoken potential. You want a partner who brings the brilliant, refreshing, completely reliable air of actualized communication, and who is brave enough to handle the direct, unfiltered brilliance of your authentic mind. You want a connection that feels like resting in a massive, brilliantly lit, beautifully ventilated, entirely indestructible library of the soul, where the communication is stark, clear, and totally devoid of manipulation. You are demanding, with the quiet, terrifying, unshakable confidence of a fully awakened mind, a love that is expansive, courageous, fiercely honest, completely reliable, mentally stimulating, incredibly articulate, and entirely free of hidden agendas. And because you are finally demanding it, because you are no longer accepting the scraps of silent uncertainty, the universe is expanding your magnetism to an entirely unprecedented, mind-blowing level. You are quite literally becoming a walking, breathing, blazing magnet for high-vibrational, fully realized, securely attached, deeply articulate, and luxurious love. You are calling in a partner who does not flinch when you ask the hard questions with the fierce clarity of Gemini. You are calling in an absolute equal, a sovereign mind for a sovereign mind. Someone who has fought their own brutal internal battles of confusion, conquered their own deep fear of being truly seen and heard, and is now standing completely whole, capable of giving you the vast, expansive safety to breathe, relax your nervous system, and fully speak your truth while honoring the brilliant, sharp boundaries of your intellect. Someone who looks at your fierce, profound depth and your sharp, brilliant curiosity and does not try to silence you with vague answers, but instead carefully, respectfully takes their time to communicate with every single layer of your being. This energy is not just about romance. It is about the absolute convergence of all forms of your personal, sovereign power. As you clear the dense, heavy, suffocating addiction to mental compliance from your system, you are simultaneously unblocking massive, rushing rivers of absolute creative authority, unstoppable intellectual momentum, and raw, grounded genius that were waiting for you to simply, finally speak up and demand your worth. You will notice over the next few days that opportunities, people, and serendipitous moments of sheer, undeniably perfect, communicative alignment will start arriving at your doorstep with shocking, steady grace. A sudden urge to completely and directly reject a confusing situation without a single drop of guilt or over-explanation. An unexpected breakthrough in how you fiercely protect your mental energy from those who drain it. A brilliant wave of raw, deeply intellectual power that absolutely demands to be treated with the utmost respect. You will feel a radiant, electrifying, yet deeply controlled and soothing current expanding in your mind. A deep, cellular, undeniable knowing that the universe is no longer teaching you through the agonizing pain of silent starvation. It is now teaching you through the incredible, ecstatic peace of absolute, overflowing clarity and radical truth. You ask yourself, why did I ever accept the chaotic silence when I was born to sit on a throne of undeniable, luxurious understanding? Why did I ever apologize for having massive, high mental standards and a sharp, brilliant need for connection when I had an entire ocean of divine, unshakable wisdom within my own physical vessel? Do not dare to judge the past versions of yourself for the mental compliance they endured. They did the absolute best they could with the unhealed wounds of unworthiness they carried. They were desperately, blindly trying to find love in a world that had incorrectly taught them that playing it cool and swallowing their questions were the price of admission for deep connection. I want you to deeply, profoundly, and entirely forgive yourself right now. I want you to let the sound of my voice be the final, absolute, undeniable permission you need to completely release the heavy, exhausting burden of your anxious, romantic history. Let your physical voice vibrate in the actual air around you. Do not just think this, actually speak it out loud or scream it silently into the very center of your mind with the force of a cosmic supernova. I completely and unconditionally forgive myself for accepting silence as an answer. I forgive myself for dimming my brilliant intellect to accommodate people who refuse to match my mental depth. I forgive myself for pouring my sacred, vital, life-giving energy into trying to decode connections that offered absolutely no verbal grounding or emotional honesty. I forgive myself for believing I had to endure agonizing mental anxiety and bite my tongue to be worthy of deep, romantic connection. I completely release the heavy, rusted chains of my past overthinking. I completely sever all energetic cords to the people who needed me to stay confused so they could avoid providing real clarity. I call all of my vital, brilliant, beautiful, curious, vocal, and fiercely intelligent energy back to my own throat and my own mind. I am finally, deeply, and irrevocably open to the absolute abundance of safe, clear, extremely consistent, highly communicative, and unconditionally sovereign love. Breathe that massive, world-altering declaration deeply into your cells. Feel the actual, physical, undeniable shift in the room around you. Feel the air become highly charged with absolute, unshakable clarity. Feel the chronic density, the mental loops, and the desperate need to mind-read permanently, leaving your energetic field. You have absolutely not lost a single ounce of your incredible potential by letting go of your past patterns of confusion. By walking away from the false, terrifying thrill of unspoken games, by stepping directly, bravely, into the swift, brilliant, completely clear wind of the Gemini moon, protected by the fierce fire of your own awakened throat chakra, you have just freed up a massive, staggering amount of life force energy that is now rushing entirely into the physical, tangible manifestation of your absolute highest timeline. What you are experiencing as this April 21 transit takes hold is a profound, incredibly necessary, and wildly explosive, personal, and romantic mental clearing. You are crossing the burning bridge from the timeline of the anxious, silent overthinker directly into the timeline of the unapologetic, sovereign, highly communicative receiver. You will absolutely be tested in the coming weeks. The quiet ghosts of your old, compliant, mental habits will likely try to drift back in. An ex or a toxic dynamic might reach out with a confusing, vague message, hoping you will pick up the old, heavy mask and perform the dance of anxious decoding for them one last time. They will want to see if the ungrounded, desperate version of you is still available to play their silent games. When they do this, you are going to experience the ultimate, exhilarating, breathtaking victory of your brand new, energetic frequency. You will look at the expectation for you to read their mind, the invitation to shrink your brilliant inquiries, and you will feel absolutely nothing but a calm, elevated, completely untouchable, deeply rooted wall of solid boundaries. You will see the toxic, confusing dynamic for exactly what it is. And for the first time in your entire life, you will not sugarcoat your response, nor will you sit in silence wondering what they meant. You will look at the rushing chaos of their mixed signals, and you will simply, elegantly, firmly, and loudly speak your absolute truth. Because your peace of mind is an entire, complete, impenetrable fortress, and you are no longer leaving your mental sanctuary for anyone who refuses to bring absolute, undeniable clarity and profound, communicative respect to your door. This is your moment of absolute liberation. The universe is watching you step into the magnificent power of your own voice. The Gemini moon is shining a brilliant, unyielding light on every dark corner of your romantic history, illuminating the path forward with startling clarity. You are no longer a victim to the unsaid. You are the master of the spoken word, the architect of a love story built on the unshakable foundation of radical honesty and profound intellectual intimacy. You are demanding a love that makes sense, a love that speaks your language, a love that meets you in the magnificent depths of your mind and refuses to leave you guessing. Allow this realization to wash over you like a wave of pure, electrifying energy. Feel the tension leaving the back of your neck, the tightness dissolving from your throat. You are permitted to ask for exactly what you want. You are permitted to require an answer. You are permitted to walk away from anyone who hands you a puzzle instead of a partnership. The era of the exhausting mental labyrinth is over. The era of the sovereign, spoken truth has begun. Now, take one more intentional, incredibly deep breath. Breathe in the crystal clear, utterly brilliant reality of this present moment. Let it physically fill your lungs to their absolute capacity, expanding your chest with the undeniable power of your newly claimed voice. Fill your entire human vessel with the vibrant, electric energy of your completely unapologetic new beginning. Exhale the desperately tired echoes of your past anxiety, the ghosts of unanswered questions, and the suffocating silence. Blow those suffocating memories of uncommunicative lovers away into the infinite cosmic ether, sending them permanently back to the absolute nothingness from which they came. You are profoundly safe to be entirely clear. You are fiercely sovereign and wonderfully whole as you are, entirely capable of demanding absolute verbal consistency and speaking your brilliant mind. The exhausted era of chasing confusion and swallowing your voice is permanently over. The toxic illusion of the silent, mysterious passion is dead. The abundantly reliable, fiercely protected, luxuriously communicative reality of your authentic, unshakable love story is finally here. Welcome home, beautiful soul, to the magnificent roar of your indestructible, perfectly articulate greatness.